little goodies with us here. We're going to really be using this, and you can go to the third page, which the other stuff's just kind of intro stuff. Go to the third page where you can take any kind of notes, tips, tricks, ahas, insights, anything that you want to write down from today, you can put it on there. There's some other pieces of that, and I'll refer to that later. I never like to send anybody out without homework. So today we are talking about permission granted. This sort of elusive thing that we know we all need to give ourselves, but that we frequently do not do. And I call it going from stressed, depressed, and stuck to fired up, focused, and fiercely confident. I'm just going to give you a little clip of that today because it's really designed in a longer program, and I'm writing a book around this, which I'm going to actually release early next year. So let's jump right in. What really kind of inspired me to do this is this whole thing I've been seeing, not just with clients, colleagues, myself, everybody, that we seem to get in this place of just being completely stuck, or we seem to be in this place of spinning our wheels. And how in the world do we get out of this? Because when you're in that, you're like, what is going on? But what stuck looks like for each person is completely different. So I thought I would share just one of my stuck stories. I've done a lot of transitioning in my life, but the most recent one was I had a different business from this that I had for 10 years where I was in the e-commerce space. And I really never, I don't want to say I wasn't intentional because we always choose something, so I chose to get into it, but I didn't do it with complete intention. I just kind of fell into the thing. And so it was fun at first. It was fun maybe for the first few years. I was selling on a lot of the different platforms. But then after a while, it just becomes a grind because I never really took the time to ask myself, what was I really designed for? I just sort of fell into this thing because we were moving a lot from place to place. I've moved, I think, 14 times, by the way, in the past 17 years. So yeah, professional transition person. So I was in this business, and I probably started feeling it about 3 years in. Now, mind you, I did this for 10 years. So the last 5 years, I definitely did not need to be doing it. I got to the point where I just was, you ever just get to that point where you're just fed up, you're sick and tired, being sick and tired. You get up, you're like, I hate what I'm doing. What am I doing here? Something has to change. But I was in that middle zone where, for the longest time, I just didn't make the change because I wasn't really unhappy enough to change it, but I wasn't really happy. So finally, when I got to that point of totally being sick and tired and getting thwacked a few times in the business, I decided it was time to walk away. And I did not walk away from a failing business. I had built it up into the 6-figure mark, and I had kept it rolling for 10 years. And I just said, enough. So I was done. Because when you get to that point, you just can't take it anymore, and you just have to say. So I gave myself permission at that moment to walk away. I walked away, and I decided I would work with a coach for a year and figure out what the hell was the rest of my life even going to look like. Because one of my fundamental beliefs is that we are all designed for a purpose, and that God gave us these giant God-sized dreams that we can only do with Him. And so I had to figure out what was that? What was that mission going to look like for me? What was that vision? And so that's what led me to the work I'm doing today. So I don't know what stuck looks like for you, but I would really encourage you to start asking yourself that, because I'll bet you somewhere in your life there's something that you probably should have been giving yourself permission to either do or to not do. So what does that look like for you? I don't know. But here's what I do know. From working with clients, there's a number of reasons that we end up hitting these walls. There's a lot of them, but I'm just going to boil it down to the first few. And the first one seems to be the one that stops everybody dead in their tracks, and that is the mental head trash. It's all this garbage going on around up here, and there's a lot of ways that that shows up. It could be the perfection pit, as I call it, or it could be the comparison trap that we have, or it might be this distraction hell that I call it. But the number one reason of the mental head trash that seems to stop everybody, that feeds all these other ones I named, is fear. That fear monster just gets in the way of everything, and it shows up in all kinds of different ways. So if you don't deal with the fear first and figure out how to, and it's not about just feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah, okay, that really works fantastic. So let me give you one quick tip. There's a lot of different tips, but one quick tip to help you through fear is to get yourself a brave buddy. I love the idea of a brave buddy. Because even when you were kids, wasn't it always easier to jump in and do something if you had somebody to do it with you? Like when I wanted to go into the deep end of the pool, but it was really, really scary, and I kept getting out of line and to the back, until finally somebody goes in there like, let's go together. So you jump in together. So get a brave buddy. That will help you through that. Again, there's a number of other things. 3 key things that happens when people get stuck. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, or they don't know what order to do it. Now there's a lot of different things you can do for that, but I'm going to give you one quick way to go through that today. Now what others tell you to do is they just tell you to think your way out of it. Let's just think positive. So let's just sit here and think positive. Let's just think like we're going to get a new job, or let's think we're going to change our life. You know, thinking isn't enough. You actually have to get into action. So that's where we're going to go into. So what others tell you to do is basically just crap, because one size doesn't fit all, and you can't think your way out of a hole. So let's talk about what we can do. Let's jump right in. And I forgot to start my timer, so we'll have to go from here. I'm going to take a best guess. So what to do? I think I have 5 simple steps. I've broken down 5 simple steps. First of all, we have to get a clue and get clear, because until we acknowledge something, we can't change what we don't acknowledge. Get a clue and get clear. Now that doesn't mean you're going to have 100% clarity, because clarity comes through doing an action, but you at least have to have a target to shoot for. You have to at least acknowledge what the problem is and a place that you can start. And the other thing is, I've seen a lot of making of excuses. So we have to get off the excuse train, and we have to be willing to accept full responsibility for what's going on and figure out what do we know and what do we need, because we have to figure that piece out first. Number 2, and it's the key, yeah, you have to get a clue and get clear, but here's where everybody seems to get stopped. Number 2, you need to make a damn decision. Make a damn decision. Because we're spinning around in this thing that people call fear of missing out, so we're doing so many different things. Or we're afraid to make a choice, so we choose everything. Or we're spinning around in this hell of like, oh my God, and we keep telling ourselves, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Stop telling yourself that, because what you tell yourself you will believe. So you have to make a damn decision. We're afraid to do that, but until you cut off the other opportunities, cut off the other options, you won't be able to move forward. Now that doesn't mean forever. It's one of my favorite sayings with clients is not forever, just for now. So just decide for right now, I'm going to do it forever for 30 days. Just forever for 30 days, because you can do anything for 30 days. And then you'll get some results, you'll see what's going on, and you'll figure it out from there. So you need to turn your wouldas, shouldas, and couldas into I can do this, I will do this, I must do this. When you turn your shoulds and woulds and coulds into musts, you will get off dead center, you will make a decision, and you will move forward. It's just that simple. Number 3, once we have all that, how the heck do we make this work? We have to have a plan. Now you're not going to know everything, and besides that, you shouldn't know everything, because this is what people do. They tend to take it all. Okay, oh my God, I'm going to change my whole entire life. And what is it? That's called eating the entire elephant. Oh my gosh, I have to do it. You don't have to do everything, you just have to do the next right step. So stop trying to eat the whole damn elephant, and let's just chunk it down and take a simple bite. Because when you have that plan, step by step, you may not even know what that looks like. We'll talk about what to do with that here in just a minute. But at least if you have a plan, you have a target to shoot for. So you want to keep it small, keep it simple, and take a single action a day in the beginning. Just one single action. Because when you take one, you're going to basically what you're going to be doing, actually I moved into number 4 and I didn't even say it. Number 4, take action, but small actions. And so what happens if you take one simple action and then you put another simple action and then you put another simple action, you're stacking your actions. So anybody who's familiar with financial stacking of money, it's the same concept. You don't just change a little percentage here and a little percentage there. Once you start to stack them, it's like compounding interest. Next thing you know, you're not just 10% further along, you're often 100% change from where you were before. So if you take action, but in order to take action, you have to make the commitment every day. Once you've made that decision, the how shows up, then you have to commit every single day to show up. You have to play full out every single day, because big action gets big results. When I say big action, I don't mean you're eating the whole elephant, remember, one step, but it's still big action, because a lot of us have been sitting here doing absolutely nothing. That's where I was, doing absolutely nothing forever, wishing, dreaming, hoping, buying every program under the planet sun and doing not a damn thing with it. So when I finally made that decision and cut off everything else, this is where it got me to. Number 5, and this is what will get you through everything else. Get support. You have to get support. We can't do it alone. Barbara Sher has one of my favorite quotes, and that is, isolation is a dream killer. Wow, let that sink in, because it really is true. Isolation is a dream killer. You can be in business, or you may even be in your job by yourself. or for yourself, but not by yourself. You don't ever have to do anything by yourself. And what does that look like? It can look like many different things. We all do need accountability, so that could be a brave buddy. That might be a friend. That often for me, it was a coach and a mastermind group. It could be an accountability group, anything like that, but you have to do it together, because when those times get tough, and believe me, they will get tough. That's just how it works. Anything worth having is going to be hard. Anything worth doing is going to have its challenges. I'm just writing a post about this whole thing, because we think it's just supposed to be so easy. We find our purpose, and it just all shows up, and wow. No, you know what? God loves to sharpen that saw. So it's going to be difficult. And you need something to get you through that difficult times, but there is that light at the end of it all. So, and this is the other thing I want to say, because this is where I was. If you aren't willing to invest in yourself, why in the world would your customers invest in you? Aren't you worth it? And aren't your customers worth it? And aren't those people who you're supposed to be serving and supposed to be talking to and sharing your voice with as God designed you for it, aren't they worth it? So be willing to invest in yourself. So I say stop doing it alone, be willing to invest in yourself, and be brave. So this is where the permission part comes in. I'm going to share this with you because I'm going to leave you with some homework here, but what I would encourage you to do is turn to the next page, and let's just write down one thing, because I want us to I'm going to give you the homework in a minute, but I want us to take one action while we're here. So the question is, what have you been dragging your feet on, waiting, dreaming but not doing, that you most want and need to give yourself permission to do or to not do? If you need a pen, there's some pens in these little pink jars here. Write at least one thing down. You don't have to write millions of things. Remember, we're keeping it small. But what's at least one thing that you know you could move forward on or stop doing, like maybe today or this week? I encourage you to write that down. Also, I have to grab one. What I'm going to have you do later is block some time, because I've given you a permission slip. Because we're giving ourselves permission. We should always have a permission slip, like when we were in school. So I want you to take that later and figure out what is that going to look like on your permission slip and hang it. In fact, I'm a fan of making multiples and hanging them everywhere, because what you keep in front of you, what you focus on, you will get more of, good or bad. So we should definitely be focusing on the positives that we want to put before ourselves. Now here's the homework, here's where it comes in. I want you to figure out one priority, and there's a little place for it at the bottom, one priority or outcome that you want to focus on for the next 7 days. So let's break this down to even less than 30 days, because if you can do anything in 30 days, you darn well know you can do it in 7 days. So one single priority that you are going to accomplish to move your dream forward, or your next phase, whatever that looks like, whether that's job, career, life, relationship, anything, forward in the next 7 days. And here's where you're going to make it happen. I gave you a little 7-day action plan. So when you get home, what you're going to do is give yourself maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes is all it's going to take. And I would actually encourage you before you leave today to put it on your calendar, because what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. Happen. That's right. What doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. And I am a fan of taking action before you leave. Before you leave today, do something in that direction so that you start that momentum, because just a single step starts the process of momentum. So book that on your calendar somewhere for 15, 20 minutes, and just write down 7 simple actions you're going to take over the next 7 days. And you will be shocked at how much you will feel like you're getting that forward momentum, because action creates momentum. And this all starts with a single step. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. Make sure I didn't leave anything else. Oh, and your permission slip again, do not forget to hang that. Put that on, put that up first, because that's going to be your number one priority and focus, and then you're going to come up with the 7 things that you're going to do for the next 7 days. I do have a tool that I've been using for myself, which is, I call it private planning retreats, where I just take myself and unplug completely. So I created a whole little freebie around that for anybody who's interested. I know it's been shocking to me. I just started doing it, but people are like, wow, I really like this idea. So if you want to know how to do your own little private planning retreat, feel free to leave your card in the little pink thing, and I'll send the freebie over to you by next week. I want to say later today, by next week. So, and you can even start this 7 days, like tomorrow or next week, whatever works for you. So Any questions around